You've spent months planning your Universal Orlando vacation. You've watched hundreds of videos and read blog after blog just to try to make sure everything's perfect for your trip. But once you get there, your excitement quickly turns to dread because the parks are wall-to-wall with people. If you're visiting the Universal Orlando Resort this spring break season, or any time that the parks are expected to be busy, this could be your reality, but it doesn't have to ruin your trip. So what we're gonna do in today's video is we're gonna give you our top 5 tips to help you beat the crowds at Universal.
Obviously, the best crowd-beating tip is to purchase Express Pass, but we realize that Express isn't accessible to everyone. So all of these tips, regardless of if you have Express or not for your upcoming trip, are gonna help everyone make the most out of your time in the parks. Our first tip is to take advantage of early park admission. This is especially true if you don't have Express Passes, because typically the earlier you get to the parks, the shorter the wait times tend to be. And of course, not everything is going to be open for EPA, but there are several highly popular attractions that are. Like in Islands of Adventure, you can get on things like Hagrid's and Velocicoaster, and of course you can also ride Minions and Escape from Gringotts over in Universal Studios. There are a few ways to get access to early park admission, and the easiest way is by staying on site. All 8 of Universal's on-site hotels include early park with your stay, and all you have to do to get in is show one of the team members your room key. If you have an annual pass, this can also get you early park admission, but there are some restrictions to be aware of here. It's kind of like a spectrum where the premier and the preferred pass holders get the most access to early park, while the seasonal and the power pass holders get the least. So depending on which pass you have, it may or may not help you for the spring break season. But you can check the availability of early park admission with each annual pass on Universal's website. There is another way to get access to early park admission that not a lot of people are aware of, and that's to
sneak in. You just run right past that attendant.
No, that's to purchase a vacation package through Universal. If you've ever heard someone say that travel agents can get you access to early park admission even if you're not staying on site, this is what they were actually referring to. So on Universal's website, they sell packages that include both your ticket and your room. And some of the rooms that they offer are partner hotels that Universal works with. So if you were to purchase the exact same hotel room and your tickets separately, that would not include access to early park admission. But if you go through Universal and buy that same room and the same tickets as a package, that does include access to early park admission. And if you're not sure if your vacation includes EPA or not, we would suggest calling Universal and they'll be able to verify that for you.
If you want to know which park has early park admission, or if you just want to know what time it starts on a given day, you can find all of that information on Universal's mobile app. And speaking of the mobile app, our second tip is to make sure that it's downloaded before you get to the parks. What a segue, let's go. There are many ways that the mobile app can save you both time and allow you to beat some of the crowds at the parks. And the first way is with the virtual lines. Now, not all attractions have a virtual line, and then some of them that do aren't on the app because they're doing their own thing with like a third-party website. We're talking about Hagrid's, you get the point. But other attractions like Jimmy Fallon's, this is how you're gonna ride them. And this is how you will get to throw beads off of one of the Mardi Gras floats if you can sign up for it.
You can also use the app to mobile order food. Not all of the restaurants at the resort have this feature, but for the ones that do, it's basically a virtual line for food. Now let me explain how this does and doesn't work. So what you do is you go ahead and place your order on the app and you hit the button that says prepare my food now. Where most people go wrong is they immediately run straight to the restaurant because they think their food's gonna be ready immediately. And that's not the case. What you're supposed to do is continue riding rides and enjoying the parks, and then when you get an alert on your phone that says your food is ready, that is when you head to the restaurant to go pick up your order. If this is your first time visiting Universal, or if you haven't been to the parks in a while, you may not be familiar with where everything is located, and trying to navigate your way around the parks when it's spring break crowded can be a nightmare. But thankfully, Universal's app has an interactive map on it where you can see everything in in the parks, from the rides to the restaurants and even the shows. You can see exactly where you're located in the parks and even find things like the nearest restroom or see what the wait time is at a specific attraction. You can even set the app to alert you if a ride falls below a specific wait time. Having all of this information at your fingertips is a lifesaver when the parks are packed. Our next tip is to make a list of your priorities. Obviously, when the parks are busier, that means the attractions are going to have higher wait times, and depending on how long your trip is, you may not have enough time to do and see everything at the resort. So what we suggest doing is to make a list of everything that you have to get done in each park and then do those first. Even if Velocicoaster is a 120-minute wait, go ahead and get in line for it, because we can promise you that you're going to regret it if you miss out on some of those must-do things.
This also applies to people who do have that express pass. Several of the hotels, especially the premier hotels, are sold out for this spring break season, and there's even a few dates already that express pass is sold out altogether. So that means a lot of people are going to have that express pass, which means those lines are also gonna get long, so you need to make sure that you're still prioritizing the things that you wanna do. Prioritize those shows, those rides, those restaurants, and then everything else that you get done after that is just icing on the cake.
Speaking of restaurants, the long lines don't just apply to rides, and this brings us to our next tip, which is kind of a two-part tip about food. When the parks are busy, the lines for food can get crazy, especially during your typical meal times. So what we suggest doing is waiting until your non-peak meal times to get food. So don't go get in line for crepes at noon during the hottest part of the day when you're gonna have to wait in line for like an hour and a half. Instead, you should wait until 2 or 3 in the afternoon once those crowds die down a little bit. Now, you're not gonna avoid lines altogether by doing this, but you can save yourself a good amount of time by waiting out those crowds.
But Anna and Tyler, have you seen those Snickers commercials where people are hungry and they're not themselves? That's how I am if I don't eat by 11:30.
Don't worry.
That's you.
We have the answers for that too. And this is where the second part of this food tip comes in. You may not be aware of it, but Universal actually allows you to bring your own food into the park.
Snickers.
So all you have to do is bring a few granola bars or gummy bears or Snickers in your park bag. And then if you get hungry, you have instant access to a snack without having to wait in lines.
Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry.
If you're enjoying this video, if you would, give us a thumbs up. We talk about all things theme parks here, so if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. Our last tip for visiting during spring break is just to embrace the crowds and make the most of it. We get it, nobody wants to wait in line longer than they have to. Nobody wants to be shoulder to shoulder with sweaty strangers while you're walking through the parks, but that's no reason to let it ruin your vacation. Just slow down and enjoy the experience. Take the time to appreciate all the time that Universal puts into their rides and their attractions. Turn around and say hi to the strangers behind you and embrace everything that the parks have to offer. And if you start getting overwhelmed by the sheer number of people that are surrounding you, there are several places that you can go to get away for a few minutes. In Universal Studios, you can go to the docks behind Shea Alcatraz or Lombard's. You can take a nice walk through Central Park, and you can usually find an open table over by Duff Brewery. In Islands of Adventure, there are all kinds of nooks and crannies in the Lost Continent, like back behind Mythos Restaurant. You can always chill out in the Splash Zone by River Adventure, and then you can also enjoy the nice views of the lagoon behind the Captain America Diner in Marvel Island.
We did want to mention that there are some benefits to visiting the parks during the busy season. You're going to have extended hours, so the parks are going to be open both earlier and later than normal, so you can spend some time at night in the parks, which is honestly one of our favorite things to do. You're going to have special events, sort of like Mardi Gras that's going on right now, and that just adds to the fun. Also, some of those restaurants that have like limited hours, those are going to be more available. They're going to have more of those open when it's busy, so you don't get too stressed out about all of it. You're at the theme parks. How bad can it be? Alright guys, that wraps up today's video. Leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know, is it pronounced GIF or GIF?
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up.
Really
you can hit that subscribe button or turn on that bell notification so you get an alert every time we post a new video.
Thanks for watching. I don't